Rivals Radio.
Imagine you're an undefeated head coach, right? It's week 18. You are exactly one win away from a perfect regular season.
Which is the dream, right?
Exactly. A milestone that basically guarantees your team a spot in the history books before the playoffs even begin. And then you intentionally decide to bench your 20 best players.
Oh, yeah. You sacrifice a flawless record. You basically punt on perfection, all just to avoid a sprained ankle or a torn ligament.
Right. So if you are sitting in that front office weighing a perfect season against a healthy roster, what do you do? I mean, are you a tactical genius preparing for the grueling postseason gauntlet? Or did you just, destroy the very momentum that made you invincible in the first place?
Well, that is the ultimate dilemma in modern football strategy, isn't it? You're constantly weighing the undeniable physical toll of a 17-game regular season against the really fragile psychological edge of playoff momentum.
Yeah, and as we just saw over the last few weeks, the answer to that specific question completely dictates who survives and who goes home.
Well said.
So, welcome to a special deep dive into the Football Rivals Pro 26 postseason. Today, our mission is to really trace this wildly unpredictable road we've just traveled to get to the upcoming Rivals Cup in Dallas, Texas.
It has been quite the ride.
Seriously, we are looking at a 32-team field that has been just methodically, brutally whittled down to just 2 survivors.
And you truly couldn't engineer a more compelling collision for the finale, I mean it. On one side, you have the APEX Conference champion Buffalo Brawlers.
The defending champs.
Right, the defending champions, the team that rested those 20 starters we just talked about. They're looking to cement a back-to-back dynasty. And then on the other side, you've got the Nexus Conference champion London Lions.
The complete opposite situation.
Exactly. They are battle-tested, they've played every single week, and they're out there hunting for the very first franchise title in their history.
It's dynasty versus destiny. But to really understand how these 2 titans emerged and why the tactics of this postseason have been so fascinating, we can't just look at the stat sheets from the conference championships.
No, you definitely have to rewind a bit.
Yeah, we have to rewind to where this playoff field was first chopped in half.
Yeah.
The wild card round.
Yeah.
Because this is where regular season expectations are just instantly thrown out the window.
Because the regular season, it allows for a margin of error. The wild card round is a sudden death environment. It immediately exposes which teams can adapt to pressure and which teams are just relying on comfortable regular season habits.
So true. And let's look at the first major shockwave in the APEX South to see exactly what you mean by that. So the Houston Hoplites came in at 12-5.
Great season.
Right, they were division champions. They had this huge late season momentum, and they looked virtually unstoppable on paper. But then the San Antonio Law walk into Houston and just knock them out 22-14.
Yeah.
I mean, how does a 12-win team suddenly forget how to score at home?
Well, it comes down to offensive rhythm versus defensive discipline. Houston built that 12-win season on explosive late-game rhythm. I mean, they relied on deep vertical passing to break games open.
Right.
But San Antonio didn't try to outscore them. They neutralized the mechanism. They deployed a very disciplined too-high safety shell. Basically, they kept their defensive backs deep, completely refusing to let any Houston receiver get behind them.
Oh, wow. So they just took away the deep threat entirely.
Exactly. They forced Houston to be patient, to take short checkdowns, and to try and string together these 15-play drives without making a single mistake. And Houston simply didn't have the patience for it. They forced the deep ball, turned it over, and San Antonio capitalized.
So San Antonio basically weaponized Houston's own explosive tendencies against them. That is brilliant. And, we saw a similar disruption of momentum with the Georgia Wildcats and the Anchorage Ice Pack.
Yeah, that was another wild one.
Yeah, because Anchorage was a 10-7 team, very physical, carrying a lot of late season heat. But Georgia just completely shut them down, 28-7.
Well, Georgia understood that physicality is entirely dependent on down and distance.
What do you mean by that?
Like, if you let a physical team like Anchorage stay in third and short situations, they will just bludgeon you with their run game all day. So Georgia committed to aggressive early down run blitzes. They forced Anchorage into third and long, which completely neutralized their physical advantage.
Right, because then they have to pass.
Exactly. It turned them into a one-dimensional passing team. It was a tactical masterclass in dictating the terms of engagement.
That makes a ton of sense.
Okay.
So that's how you handle a physical team. But what if you were drawn into an absolute track meet? because that's what happened to our eventual finalists, the London Lions.
Oh yeah, their game against the New Orleans Mojo.
Right. New Orleans is a team that thrives on manufacturing defensive pressure. But instead of a defensive struggle, this game just explodes into a 40-29 shootout victory for London.
What's crucial to understand here is how London managed that pressure. New Orleans loves to blitz, right? Which inherently leaves their defensive backs isolated one-on-one.
Because they're sending everyone after the quarterback.
Exactly. And London realized immediately that trying to block 6 or 7 pass rushers all game was just a losing proposition. So they embraced the shootout.
Just fire back as fast as you can.
They used quick release passing, hot routes, screen plays to punish New Orleans for blitzing. It really showed early on that London's offense has this extra gear they can shift into when the game script demands high scoring.
Yeah, that adaptability is huge. Meanwhile, out in the Apex West, the Pittsburgh Prowlers started carving out a very different identity. They go on the road as the 5 seed, facing the division champion Sacramento Peaks, and they win 35-32.
Yeah, that game established Pittsburgh as the ultimate gritty road warrior.
Yep. Because
winning away from home in the playoffs, it requires a very specific psychology.
You have to silence the crowd early.
Yes, exactly. And Pittsburgh did that by establishing a dominant inside run game, controlling the clock, and keeping Sacramento's high-powered offense just freezing on the sidelines.
And speaking of freezing, the St. Louis Rhinos barely survived the Philadelphia Fury 20-18. I think that was the closest game of the opening round.
Oh, for sure. Philly was scorching hot coming in, but St. Louis just kind of dragged them into the mud and held on for dear life.
Right. But okay, let's unpack this. Because the loudest statement of the wild card round, for me at least, was the Canton Crush. They deliver a 29-3 defensive clinic against the Virginia Beach Bombers, holding them to a single field goal.
It was a staggering performance, really, especially considering Virginia Beach had beaten Buffalo just weeks prior. I mean, Canton looked like an impenetrable fortress.
Okay, yeah, but here's my thing. Everyone praised Canton for that blowout. But I look at playoff football as a pressure cooker, right? Where you need to test your welds before the pressure maxes out.
Oh, I see where you're going with this.
Yeah, like if you are Canton's head coach, is a dominant 29-3 win actually dangerous? Does blowing a team out breed a false sense of security because you weren't forced to problem solve in the fourth quarter?
What's fascinating here is that is the exact psychological trap of the wildcard round. Football is essentially high-speed problem solving under extreme physical duress.
Right, you're getting hit while trying to do math.
Exactly. And when you win 29-3, your systems are never truly stressed. Your quarterback isn't forced to read complex, disguised coverages while trailing by 4 points with 2 minutes left.
So you start to believe your own hype.
You do. The team exhales. And in the postseason, the moment you exhale, you're dead.
Wow. Which brings us perfectly into the divisional round. Because this is where the rested heavyweights enter, right? The top seeds who had a bye week.
The teams that got to sit on the couch.
Yeah, and we always assume that a week of rest equals readiness. You heal the bruises, you install new plays. But rest also creates rust.
It creates a massive amount of cognitive friction. And Canton is the perfect example of this trap springing shut.
They totally were. They were 15-2, coming off that dominant defensive showcase, playing at home, and those same gritty road warrior Pittsburgh Prowlers walk into their stadium and just dismantle them 35-13.
The dangerous 5 seed strikes again.
It's wild. How does that happen?
Well, think about the contrast in game speed. Pittsburgh had just spent the previous week in a super hostile environment in Sacramento, trading blows, executing in high-leverage situations. Their brains were fully calibrated to playoff speed.
And Canton's weren't.
Not at all. Canton, despite their earlier blowout over Virginia Beach and a week of rest, they hadn't played a truly stressful, competitive quarter of football in nearly a month. So when Pittsburgh punched them in the mouth early, Canton's players were processing the game just a fraction of a second too slow.
And that hesitation is all it takes for a hardened playoff team to run you out of your own building. And Canton wasn't the only giant to fall either. Over in the Nexus bracket, the Albuquerque Dukes, 16-1, the number 1 overall seed, the standard bearer for the conference all year long, they fell at home to the Georgia Wildcats, 20-16.
Another massive casualty of the bye week curse, and honestly, Georgia proved their wild card win was not a fluke at all.
No, they didn't need to win a shootout.
Right, they simply dragged Albuquerque into this grinding, heavy-handed defensive battle. They shortened the game, they limited the total number of possessions, and they maximized the pressure on every single snap.
Which is terrifying for an offense that wants to play fast.
Oh, completely. When a high-flying offense like Albuquerque is suddenly limited to only 8 or 9 drives in an entire game, panic starts to set in. You feel like every mistake is fatal.
That is so true. But while the top seeds were getting stunned, the London Lions showed us something else entirely. So they played the St. Louis Rhinos. Now remember, London had just won a track meet in the wild card round.
Right, the high-scoring game.
Yeah, but St. Louis is an evenly matched 11-6 division champion that wants to play a bruising, physical game.
And London beat them at their own game, 27-24. I mean, this is a trench war. The line of scrimmage was a brutal, physical stalemate for 3 straight quarters.
So London basically proved their ultimate adaptability.
Yes. A lot of teams, they have one fastball. If they can't throw it, they lose. London showed they can win the high-scoring sprint, and they can win the exhausting physical marathon.
That's scary for any opponent. Which brings us back to the defending champs. The Buffalo Brawlers step onto the field against San Antonio Law. And Buffalo is the team that made the highly controversial decision to rest around 20 starters in Week 18.
Right. They gave up a perfect season for preparation.
And it paid off. They beat San Antonio decisively, 33-20. But wait, I have to challenge that a bit. Resting 20 players worked for Buffalo, sure. But isn't that just hindsight bias?
How do you mean?
Well, it's like skipping the final dress rehearsal before opening night. You risk being completely rusty just to avoid a sprained ankle. And we just saw Canton and Albuquerque, two rested teams, get completely embarrassed because they lost their edge. So why is it that the divisional round seems to prove that riding momentum is safer than resting, except when it comes to Buffalo?
Yeah, that is the perfect question, and it really highlights the difference between a good team and a championship pedigree team. You're right, for a younger, less experienced roster, resting is often fatal.
Because they lose their rhythm?
Exactly, they need the weekly rhythm to maintain their mental processing speed. But Buffalo is a veteran team. They have deep, ingrained muscle memory from winning the title last year.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, they don't need the weekly reps to know how to execute under pressure. For a veteran roster, the physical degradation of the season is a much larger threat than mental rest. They rested their bodies because they already completely trusted their minds.
Okay, that makes a ton of sense. You don't need the dress rehearsal if you've been starring in the play for 3 years.
Spot on.
So the chaos of the divisional round leaves us with 4 survivors facing the conference championships. This is really where Cinderella runs meet championship pedigree.
And this is where the clock finally struck midnight for the Georgia Wildcats.
Yeah, the London Lions take down Georgia 36-21, capturing the Nexus crown. Georgia had an unbelievable run, slaying Anchorage and Albuquerque, but London just controlled this game from the opening kickoff.
How did you see London navigating that matchup? Because Georgia thrives on late-game chaos.
They do, but London never gave them the opportunity to create that chaos. London showcased yet another layer of their adaptability. The controlled separation game.
The RPO.
Yes, the run-pass option scheme. By giving the quarterback the option to either hand the ball off or throw a quick pass based on the defensive movement post-snap, London essentially kept Georgia's linebackers completely frozen.
Because if they guess wrong, they get burned. Exactly. If the linebacker stepped up to stop the run, London threw it over their heads. If they dropped back, London ran it right down their throats. It allowed London to eat up the clock, dictate the pace, and keep Georgia at arm's length the entire game. They slowly suffocated Georgia's hope.
That is a brilliant breakdown of how adaptability actually functions on the turf. You aren't just changing plays, you are changing the entire geometry of the field based on what the opponent gives you.
Precisely.
Meanwhile, the Apex Championship was a completely different story. The Buffalo Brawlers survived the Giant Killers, the Pittsburgh Prowlers, 27-24. Pittsburgh pushed the defending champs to the absolute brink.
They really did. They were not intimidated by the environment or the pedigree, not for a second.
No, Pittsburgh brought that exact same road warrior mentality. But this game illustrates exactly why championship experience is so highly valued. When the game was tied in the fourth quarter and the pressure was at its absolute peak, Buffalo engineered one final, decisive play to secure the title.
Which brings up a great point about experience.
Yeah, because broadcasters always talk about championship experience, but Honestly, it usually sounds like a sports media cliche to me, like a buzzword they throw around when they don't have a real tactical explanation.
Yeah.
So at what point does experience stop being a cliche and become a tangible tactical advantage on the turf?
This raises an important question, and it really becomes a tactical advantage when you look at the neurology of the players in the final 2 minutes of a tied playoff game.
The neurology.
Yeah, think about it. The stadium is deafening, the stakes are immense, your heart rate spikes, adrenaline completely floods your system. For an inexperienced team, this causes cognitive overload.
Their brains just redline.
Exactly. The quarterback's peripheral vision literally narrows. They panic, they rush their reads, they force the ball into tight windows, and they make uncharacteristic mistakes.
The moment literally gets too big for their brains to process.
Precisely. But a team like Buffalo, they've been in that exact scenario. They have already lifted the trophy. Because their brains recognize the pattern of the high-stress environment, they don't experience the same adrenaline dump.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they are able to mentally slow the game down, they breathe, they execute their blocking assignments with clinical precision, and they patiently wait for the panicked opponent to make a mistake. That is not a cliche. That is the biological and tactical advantage of having been there before.
That is fascinating. The idea that experience literally changes your physiological response to a tied game in the fourth quarter. And it perfectly sets the stage for the climax of this entire journey. Because with the grueling road complete, all roads lead to Dallas.
The Rivals Cup, the atmosphere in that stadium is going to be incredibly electric.
Saturday night, 8 p.m., under the bright lights in Dallas, Texas. Skip Lloyd and Commissioner Back will be on the live call, and they're going to have an absolute masterpiece to dissect. Because we have two completely different franchise trajectories colliding in a single game.
We really do. On one side, you have the Buffalo Brawlers, the defending champions, 16-1, the number 1 seed. A win here cements a back-to-back dynasty and provides total validation for their controversial decision to rest their starters in Week 18.
And on the exact opposite side, the London Lions. Playing in their first ever Rivals Cup, I mean, they didn't get a bye week. They have played 4 straight elimination games to get here.
A historic gauntlet.
Yeah, a win completes that gauntlet and secures their first ever franchise title. So if we look at the tactical matchup, the contrast in styles is what makes this so compelling.
Yeah.
How do you see these two distinct philosophies interacting on the field?
Well, here's where it gets really interesting. Looking at London, they are essentially a Swiss Army knife. Whatever the specific game script demands, they flip out the right tool.
They need a shootout. They beat New Orleans.
Right. They need a defensive grind. They beat St. Louis. They need a controlled, clock-eating lead. They beat Georgia. They adapt to you. But Buffalo's a sledgehammer.
Just purely dominant.
Yes. A sledgehammer only does one thing, but it does it so well that it doesn't matter what tool you bring. They don't disguise their intentions. They line up, rely on that veteran execution, and force you to adapt to them.
That is a phenomenal way to frame it. So if you are London and you know the sledgehammer is coming, do you try to dictate the pace from the opening kickoff? Or do you wait, see what Buffalo brings, and counterpunch with your adaptability?
Personally, if you're a London, you absolutely have to throw the first bunch. You cannot let a veteran team like Buffalo settle into their rhythm and slow the game down. You have to push the tempo and try to induce that cognitive overload we talked about.
Try to make them panic.
Exactly.
But honestly, as much as I respect London's Swiss Army knife approach, until a team actually proves they can withstand the Brawlers' defensive front in the postseason, you cannot pick against that championship experience. Buffalo's defensive line is going to test London's adaptability in a way they haven't seen yet. I'm taking Buffalo in a tight one, 27-24. That sledgehammer is just too heavy.
I see the logic, especially regarding the defensive line, but I am going the other way.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I firmly believe that in a one-game winner-take-all scenario, elite adaptability beats a singular dominant strategy. London has morphed into a completely different team every single week. They have relentless momentum. They are battle-tested from fighting through the entire bracket without a bye, and I think they have the offensive creativity to keep Buffalo's defense guessing. I have London shocking the world and winning it 30-27.
Dynasty versus destiny. The picks are locked in. But regardless of who comes out on top, the ripples of this specific matchup are going to be felt across the entire league for a long time.
Without a doubt. And it leaves you, as a fan, with a really provocative thought to explore before kickoff. Think about how the final score of this Rivals Cup is going to fundamentally alter front office strategies across the league next year.
How so? What's the bigger implication?
Think about the precedent it sets. If Buffalo wins, it provides ultimate validation for the rest strategy. Will we see a league-wide trend where every team with a secured playoff spot suddenly benches their starters in the final weeks?
Prioritizing health and veteran muscle memory over regular season rhythm.
Exactly. A wave of Week 18 resting across the board. But if London wins, a team that fought tooth and nail through every single week, playing 4 elimination games without a single break.
Will general managers and coaches decide that fighting for momentum and sharpening your edge all the way through the final whistle is the only true way to build the champion?
Right. The actual blueprint for how you build and manage a winner for the next decade is quite literally on the line in Dallas.
That is incredible to think about. The tactical decisions made on Saturday night will definitely echo long after the confetti is cleared from the field. I cannot wait to see how the chess match unfolds.
It's going to be legendary.
Make sure you tune in to the live broadcast on Saturday night. You will not want to miss a single second of this clash. Thank you to all the fans for joining us on this journey. From Rivals Radio.
It's Rivals Radio.